This is Johnny and Jose with Tiger Bomb MMA, and we'll be going over UFC 260, Miocic versus Ngannou 2, going over the entire fight card, giving you our thoughts and predictions on the matchups, and probably some ideas on some betting, some prop bets. It's an interesting fight card overall. Of course, we have Ngannou coming in and getting a second fight at a title, fighting Stipe Miocic for the second time. So I'm interested in seeing how that fight's going to play out, because we've seen what's happened in the first fight, but things have definitely changed since then. So we'll begin the card with a fight at middleweight between Azaitar and Marc-Andre Barriault, aka Power Bar. Currently, the odds are minus 125 for Barriault, and Abu comes in at plus 100. It's a fascinating matchup because Abu hasn't fought in almost 3 years. His last fight was against Victor Miranda. So I understand why the odds are the way they are. It's just really that Marc-Andre Barriault hasn't impressed in the UFC whatsoever. He has 0 wins in the UFC. His last fight, where he actually got a finish over Oscar Pichota, was overturned, I think, for Osterine or something. So it's concerning, because if he had something in his system and he still looked kind of bad against Oscar Pichota, he got the win. It just wasn't very impressive. Oscar was kind of landing on him. And Azaitar, we know that last name, right? These motherfuckers are something special. And by special, I mean scary. The way Abu fights, he's just kind of balls to the wall. He doesn't care. He will just throw punches. He'll come at you. He can be a bit sloppy, but he's very aggressive. So I think there is some value on him as the underdog. Of course, the concern being that he hasn't fought in almost 3 years. Give and take with that. He hasn't fought in 3 years, so he can be rusty, but he hasn't fought in 3 years, so he could be fresh. Of course, the opposite could be Marc-Andre Barriault, just recently fought 8 months ago. I can see him kind of controlling Azaitar against the cage and just kind of stuffing him down. He is the bigger guy. He's got a 73-inch reach compared to, I'm going to say, like a 70-inch reach for Azaitar. He's 5'11", Azaitar is, coming in on the opposite side. Barriault is 6'1". So it's a toss-up. I'm probably going to stay away from this one. I could see this one going the distance, but I will pick Azaitar to win this one by decision.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, but not really all that exciting. I think you hit it right on the nail. Azaitar has been away for almost 3 years, but we won't really see what this guy looks like until the weigh-ins. So if this guy comes in shape, I think he'll have enough to eke out a win by split decision. But if he does not come in shape, I think maybe Andre Barriault will have enough to decision him on the other side. I think whoever wins is going to win by split decision. This isn't going to be the most athletic fight on the card by any means. I think that's why they're opening it up. But I think just based on his past performances, Abu should, it's just a fun name to say, Abu should have enough to get it done. But yeah, I'm also staying away from this. I'm not touching this with even an 11-foot pole.
Our next matchup at flyweight, we've got the return of Gillian the Savage Robertson versus Miranda Fear the Maverick. And I'll start off by saying I used to give Gillian Robertson a lot of crap in the past. Like, I've never been impressed by her. And then her last fight, I actually, during the breakdown, said, you know what, I've been really hard on her. I might actually pick her to win. I think she might be the grappler of that division, with everything just clicking for her. And then she gets out wrestled by a striker. And I'm back to my old ways, because Gillian Robertson is not going to beat Miranda Maverick. I think Miranda Maverick has everything going for her. She's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. She's not afraid to strike. Miranda Maverick can actually outstrike herself out of a paper bag. Gillian Robertson will strike with the bag for a bit, get lit up by the bag, and then try to take the bag down unsuccessfully. I think that's what's going to happen here. Miranda Maverick is just too competent on the feet. She's not the greatest striker. I think she's just competent enough with her tools, her punches, her elbows. We saw what she did to Jojo. She blew up her nose. She was kind of losing that striking for a little bit, but she kind of adjusted and then proceeded to just put it on her. I think Gillian Robertson is a bit of a mental case. If she can't get the takedown, she kind of, freezes up. Her bread and butter is the ground, and we've seen a blue belt dominate her on the ground. So Miranda Maverick is a brown belt. Brown is bigger than blue. So I'll go with Miranda Maverick to win this one. I'm going to say second round TKO. Actually, let me give you the odds. I am so confident in this one that I'm not even reading the odds. Miranda Maverick minus 177, Gillian Robertson plus 145. Is there some value on Gillian? Of course there is. It's women's MMA. Anything could happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Gillian gets back on track and gets a sneaky little submission, but I just don't see it happening. Again, Miranda Maverick, second round TKO.
Yeah, all I'm going to say about this fight is that Gillian's pants are going to match Miranda's belt at the end of this fight.
Good. Is that all you want to add, or do you want me to go?
I think that's all I'm going to say about this fight. I'm also going with Miranda. I'm not going to bet on this because it's women's MMA. But yeah, that's all I have to say about this fight.
Our next matchup at light heavyweight, we've got a fight between the Baltic gladiator Modestas Bukauskas versus Michal Lord Oleksiejczuk. I like this matchup. It's the battle of the guys who got beat by Jimmy the Fruit Brute Crute in their last matchup. And I'll give you the odds. The odds currently have Michal as a minus 150, and the comeback on Bukauskas is plus 125. I think the odds are pretty good. It's a really good toss-up type of fight. From what I've seen after watching tape, is that Michal, he puts on pressure. I like his pressure. I like his striking. He's a bit undersized for light heavyweight, though. He's 6 foot tall, 74-inch reach. And I really hadn't stopped him until he kind of started fighting the bigger dudes. OSP, he was beating him up in the first round. He won that first round decisively, and then OSP kind of used his weight advantage and his everything advantage and then just laid on him. And same thing with Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute just put a wrestling clinic on Michal. But since before those matchups, though, he was just using his striking going forward and just finding the body, finding the head. I like the way this guy fights. I think he has a bright future. He's only 26 years old. What concerns me, though, is that he's fighting Bukauskas, who's a big dude. He's 6'3", 78-inch reach. He's a kicker. He has lateral movement. He's got good hands, but he's primarily a kicker, in my opinion. Keeps his chin up in the air. I don't like that. And we saw that with Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute almost seemed like he did not care about anything that Bukauskas was throwing at him. He chopped the legs and then eventually found the chin with a right hook. And he looked as if he was a 1 or 205 version of James Vick. And he was just flopping all over the place. I didn't like that way. I didn't like that knockout at all. Although Oleksiejczuk has 2 losses via submission, I really don't see a threat on the ground by Bukauskas. I mean, it's possible. He has that size advantage over Oleksiejczuk. Am I saying Oleksiejczuk because it sounds like Jędrzejczyk? I'm just going to call him Michal. He has that size advantage over Michal, which, he can just lay on him perhaps and maybe use his wrestling. I haven't really seen too much of his wrestling, but everything in this situation points Michal winning this fight. I think he's going to find the body really early and then eventually find that right hand or that. Actually, I think he's a left-handed fighter. He'll find that left hand and then just kind of put him out. I'm staying away from this one completely, but I do have Michal winning this one by second round knockout. I think eventually he'll wear him out. A lot of that backwards movement that Modestas has will tire him out, and I think we're going to see another knockout.
I think actually the name you were looking for is Buster Bluth for Modestas as to who he looked like. Yeah, I mean, Modestas in that fight against Jimmy Crute, it was like, when Buster jumped into the sea and, was fighting that sea lion, he lost. Yeah. This is, I'm going with Modestas reluctantly. And the reason I say that is because his brains got scrambled 4 months ago. So only he knows how bad that was, and how his recovery has gone so far. But that's really the only concern. I think Modestas has the better movement on the feet. He has the length, and I think he has the better striking. I think Lord has fairly good-ish, okay power. He did knock out Gian Villante after all. So that says quite not a lot. But yeah, I think this is Modestas' fight to lose. And I think he'll lose if he underestimates Michal's technique and power. But I think if he keeps his distance, uses his movement, he should get, probably a 29-28 decision at the very least. If not, a clear 30-27 if he stays on his toes for the full 3 rounds.
Our next matchup at welterweight, we've got Jared Night Train Gooden versus Abubakar Nurmagomedov. And the odds currently have Nurmagomedov as a -240, the comeback on Gooden +180. And to be honest with you guys, I'm not looking forward to this matchup whatsoever, because it's really the matchup between the letdowns. Because Jared Gooden, I was pretty high on him. I thought he was going to go in there and beat Alan Jouban, who's 40 years old and hadn't fought in some time. And he looked slow to the punch. Like, Jouban was just landing at will. Of course, Gooden had his moments, but definitely didn't have enough of those moments to win any of the rounds. As for Nurmagomedov, just because he has the name Nurmagomedov does not make him part of that Chechen group, because I'm also including Islam Makhachev in that group of the Nurmagomedovs. He's nowhere near as good as Islam Makhachev, and he's nowhere near as good as Khabib, because that fight with David Zawada, and to be honest, I did buy into that. Like, oh, he's a Nurmagomedov, he must be just as good as Khabib. And then David Zawada gets him in a triangle choke that Khabib would never in his fucking life be in, and I doubt Khabib would have tapped to it. It was just so disappointing. Not necessarily because I was high on the guy, not because of the name value. It was just the way it happened. Not to take anything away from Zawada, it's just that it looked very pedestrian. Like, it didn't look like he caught him out of nowhere, like maybe like a submission from Paul Craig just catching you out of nowhere. It looked like it was being set up for a long time and it just caught him. So because of that, I can't pick Nurmagomedov in this fight whatsoever. Like, he could be winning the fight. I actually think he will win the fight. I think if he uses his wrestling and it controls Gooden, but I honestly think Gooden might potentially catch Nurmagomedov. I hate to say it, but I think he kind of has that bit of a quitter mentality, Abubakar. And I think Gooden, although his last performance was kind of bad, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. I think he might be hungry to really show himself in the UFC. I think he might really put himself out there and just go for a finish early. And he has been known to do that. He's a pretty good overall fighter. He has wins by submission and knockout, and he's a powerful guy. It's just that, Jouban's just a more seasoned striker. I will go with the underdog on this one. Honestly, everything logically points to Nurmagomedov winning this matchup. I think he will and should use his wrestling to control Gooden, but I don't know. I think Gooden just going to be a little too explosive and might just catch him. And because of that, I can't pick Nurmagomedov. I'm going to go with Gooden to win this one, 2nd round knockout.
Yeah, this is, I think, in my opinion, the Nurmagomedov to keep your eye on. And that's not to say, shine a spotlight on him because he's the next star. But this is a Nurmagomedov that you're going to want to remember his first name, Abubakar. Yeah. That should, light up one of those, one of those light bulbs should go off when you read or hear that name going forward. Because this is not a Nurmagomedov you're going to have any confidence in, even in these fights that you think or that you believe that he should dominate with his wrestling. I don't think that's going to be the case here either. I'm also going with Jared Gordon reluctantly to get maybe a split decision. I don't really see too much action in this fight. Really, any action that I'd want a part of or want to look at. I think this is not going to be a great fight. So don't really have much to say other than good luck if you do bet on this fight. But yeah, this is my best opinion is stay away from this fight. This is not the Nurmagomedov you wanna back with any sort of currency.
Our next matchup we have at strawweight, we've got the return of Jessica Penne versus 24-carat Hannah Goldy. And for those of you who don't know, Jessica Penne kind of had a USADA violation suspension, which would essentially retire her. I think it was like 2 years for I can't remember what. And, she's been having issues outside of the cage. She had mentioned that because of that suspension, I think she had to be an Uber driver. And I think she even had an OnlyFans page because of it. And yeah, it kind of sucks because she's 38 years old coming in fighting a 28-year-old girl in Hannah Goldy. And I think you guys know where I'm going with this. She hasn't won a fight in 6 years. Her last win was against Randa Marcos. And she lost to Joanna for the title. She lost to Jessica Andrade by knockout. And then Danielle Taylor beat her by decision. The odds currently have Hannah Goldy minus 125, Jessica Penne plus 100. It's interesting. Those are very interesting odds because Hannah Goldy, I guess I understand why she's not being valued as highly because she lost to Miranda Granger about a year ago and almost 2 years ago. She hasn't fought in that amount of time. I follow her on Instagram because I like what I see from her. She's very pretty. I like her smile. She's a very strong girl. She's like built, but that last fight was concerning, but she was fighting a very tall, lanky fighter. When it comes to these two, Jessica does have a reach advantage. She's got a 6-inch reach advantage. Oh man, I hate to say it, but yeah, I don't think Jessica Penne is going to win this one whatsoever. I hope she does. I want to see her get back on track, but at that age, after what's been going on, I don't think her head's really going to be in the game. Hannah Goldy's constantly training. She's constantly in shape. She's probably just going to be too much physically for her. Reach advantage be damned. I think she's going to go in there and really implement her style. The main thing I don't like about Hannah Goldy and her fighting style is that she trying to be nice, but she sucks. She sucks at keeping distance. Like she keeps distance, but she doesn't do anything with it. Like she's not a reachy fighter. Like her fight with Granger, even her fight with Callie Robbins in the Contender series, like she would lay back too much, and then she would kind of have moments like where she would explode. But that's not how you win fights. Like she doesn't set things up. She just kind of lays back and she tries to do the counter fighting game, but it's not very effective for her. She should really use her strength more and like push girls up against the cage, but she doesn't seem to do that. Hopefully she fixes those issues. And if she does, I can see her, getting more wins in the UFC. So that's what really concerns me when it comes to that matchup, because yeah, Jessica Penne, she's fought for world titles in Invicta. She's a very, very skilled girl, but at 38 years old, after what's happened, 3 straight losses, I can't pick her. So I'll go with Hannah Goldy to win this one by a very close decision.
Yeah, I didn't I'm still in shock that she's 38 years old. Yeah, she's way over the hill, man. Easiest way to put this fight is let's see, how long ago was that? All right, so 6 plus, let's say even going back 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, when she was fighting, Esparza and Jacek and Andrade. I refuse to pronounce her name, Andrade. Even, however many years ago when she was fighting at the time, I guess they're still kind of okay, but she wasn't good then, you know what I mean? And I guess she was training full time then, and she was fighting a little bit more consistently. And so she's been out of the octagon for about 4 years now. And at 38 years, she is not going to look she is way past what could possibly be labeled as her prime, but she is not going to come in and um, you know, look good. The only odds for this fight are I'll probably use the bathroom, for however long until this fight is off the air. It's not something I'm looking forward to. Not sure why this was even put together, or why they even brought her back. I guess they have to honor a contract, or who knows. But I think part of it is also they're probably trying to feed her to Hannah Goldy to get her a win in the UFC, because she does have that look that they like, the Paige Van Zandt thing, where she's younger, I would say, than Penne for sure, and she has that look, so they'd like to maybe market her. So I guess they want to feed her Jessica Penne. Yeah, I don't know, man. I really don't know what to say about this fight other than let's move on.
Well, before we get to the main card, I'd like to ask you guys to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. We really appreciate that. Also, follow us on Instagram at TigerBomb MMA. I'm actually going to start posting really dumb parlays on there, like maybe 8-person parlays. Hopefully they hit. I've actually done it before where I've made like $300 on a $5 bet. So I like that feeling. Check us out. And also on Twitter at TigerBomb MMA. Hit us up there. And yeah, we appreciate everyone who's been commenting and leaving likes. We're up to 40 subscribers now. That's something. So we appreciate everybody very sincerely. It's awesome. We like doing this. We like seeing what you guys think. Talk shit. We don't care. We love it. But to open up the main card, we've got a battle of the big boys. Alonzo Atomic Menifield. I didn't know he had that nickname. And William Nightmare Knight. I used to call Menifield Minuteman Menifield. And Nightmare Knight is pretty accurate for William Knight. Currently, the odds are dead even, -112, -112. Very understandable. Those two losses that Menifield had against Ovince St. Preux and Devin Clark really haven't hindered his aura of being a big, beefy, bomb-throwing boy. And William Knight, he's 9-1. Actually, they're very close in records, 9-2 for Menifield, 9-1 for William Knight. The only loss that Knight had was a knockout to Tafan Nchukwi, who, he's in the UFC and he got a win against Jamie Pickett his last fight. Very, very, very similar these two guys are. I would say Menifield has the more physical advantages. He's 6 foot tall, 76-inch reach compared to the 5 foot 10-inch tall and 73-inch reach William Knight. And although they're both, bomb throwing guys, I think William Knight has a overall better game plan when it comes to fighting. He doesn't just try to strike with you. He will take you down. His last fight with Oleksiejczuk, he really proved that. He proved that, like, hey, I'm an older guy. I'm smarter. I've been in this game for quite a bit of time, and I know how to implement a proper game plan if I don't want to necessarily strike with you. I think he's going to have to do that with Menifield. The thing is, though, Menifield, he's still pretty good. As much as I give him shit, as much as I've bet on him and he's let me down, I really think this is a spot for him to come back. He's going to steal the slight hype that William Knight has and just kind of get back on track. I think he will actually catch Knight. I think a patient Menifield who selects his shots correctly, who counter wrestles, because William Knight will definitely try to wrestle, should get this win pretty easily. My concern, though, is that OSP knockout was 6 months ago. How has he recovered from that? Because sometimes when dudes get cracked, they're just never the same. Maybe they're just too hesitant. I really don't know. He is training with Ford MMA. He has a really good team behind him. He has a lot of good guys there for him to train with. And I honestly think his team overall should mimic William Knight well enough for Alonzo Menifield to just know what's coming. But again, that chin concerns me. It's never been an issue in the past, but that left hook was just beautiful that OSP landed on him. So I'm going to give him slack for that. I will go with Menifield to win this one. I will say round number 1. I think it's going to be a really fun fight to open the card. I really hope to God it's not a boring fight, because I can see ways it can be, but I really do think they're going to push each other and then something spectacular is going to happen. Like it's going to be atomic, according to Alonzo Menifield. So I'll go with Menifield to win this one, round number 1.
This is going to be an interesting fight. And while, it's possible it can be, a contender for most boring fight, a la Ngannou Lewis or something, I think it will not be. And I'm actually taking William Knight in this. I think I'm actually taking him by second round TKO. And the reason for that is I think Alonzo Menifield has his back against the wall or against the corner? So whatever. He has 2 losses. He has one, Devin Clark, and a KO to OSP. I actually had him winning that fight, let me down. I'm not jumping on that train. I'm not jumping on any train that's been derailed, 2 times in a row. Also, I think William Knight, he does have the height disadvantage, but the way I'm looking at this fight is that William Knight is more of a, he's built like a fire hydrant. And I think he's going to come with that power. And I think he's going to knock out Alonzo Menifield probably in the second round. I don't know if I think Alonzo's going to be somewhat hesitant in the first round. He's going to, try to feel out the fight and whatnot, because I don't think he's in any hurry to get a third loss on his record in 5 minutes. So I think William Knight is going to have enough to piece him up in the second round. I think he's going to get a little too confident in there. Alonzo will. And he's going to have to go on the Dr. Phil show because he's going to have nightmares from what William Knight is going to do to him in there.
Our next matchup at lightweight, we've got Jamie Spocky Malaki versus the Death Star, Worthy. And actually, I was very interested in talking about this matchup because I'm kind of becoming a Jamie Malarkey fan. And I know that's weird to say. I kind of like this guy. I kind of hope he wins. Currently, the odds are minus 152 for Worthy. The comeback on Malarkey plus 125. I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. I think Worthy is better everywhere. I think he's got the better striking. I think he's got the better grappling, the better wrestling. I think he should win this fight very easily, in my opinion. He could even kill Jamie Malarkey with a really strong right hand, just whatever he wants. I think he's just the overall better fighter. The only thing that Jamie Malarkey has for him is he's incredibly tough. He's just so damn durable. And as you guys might know, being durable, how do we find out he's durable? He gets his ass beat a lot. His fight with Brad Riddell. Now, I want to talk about this one. He got outclassed almost entirely throughout that fight. He fought smart. He tried to take Brad Riddell down, but Brad Riddell just kept popping back up. And, he was getting demolished. Jamie Malarkey was really game. He even cut Brad Riddell, who is a credentialed striker from City Kickboxing, blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to discredit Brad. I'm just saying, he's a little overhyped. But he cut him with a nice, I think it was a right hand. In the third round, one of the best third rounds I've ever seen, they're going at it in the pocket. Jamie Malarkey's not going down. And he catches Brad Riddell with something that stuns him. And it just really hurts Brad. And he takes him down. And then, that was a great moment for Jamie. I really liked what I saw there. But in reality, he's just not overly skilled. He's one of those really tough guys that will strike with grapplers and will wrestle with strikers. He's just not the best over-round fighter. But his chin is damn good, and he's really tough, and he's really scrappy. And Worthy, although I mentioned, of course, his overall game is really good, his chin is super suspect. And I know him getting knocked out by Ottman Azaitar, you shouldn't necessarily put that in your head. It's one of the hardest hitting dudes in that division. It's just that, man, I've seen in the past that he's been knocked out multiple times. I can see him just demolishing Jamie Malarkey, right? Just beating him up everywhere. He might get a little too overconfident in maybe the third round, and then Jamie just catches him with an opportunistic shot and puts Worthy down. So that's my biggest concern. And that is the worst feeling when you're betting. For example, that Biggie Boy versus Overeem, right? Overeem's whipping his ass pillar to post, and then 10 seconds left, he goes down and the fight's off. I can see something like that happening in this fight because although Jamie, as I mentioned, I'm kind of shitting on him a little bit that he's not the greatest fighter. I can see him winning this match. There's no way in hell that his overall game is going to compare to Worthy, but I can see him still winning this matchup because it might be a slip up from Worthy or just a really sneaky shot from Jamie Malarkey. Gun to my head, I'm gonna have to go with Worthy by decision. I don't think he's gonna be able to finish Malarkey. I think Malarkey's just too tough overall. So you might want to look into that prop of the over. And not to say that Worthy can't knock him out. I just think that Malarkey's just really really tough. Uh, he's really durable. I'll go with Worthy on this one for a decision, but I am not confident in it. I think Malarkey, if you've got that feeling, if you're from Australia and you just want to go for your boy, I wouldn't blame you. Again, the odds right now are plus 125. Man, maybe not the best odds, but I'm kind of rooting for Jamie to win this one. But yeah, I got Worthy by decision.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think this is a lot closer than I originally took a look at. Excuse me. I think I'm not going to hold Worthy's last loss against him because Ottman Azaitar, man, that guy's pretty goddamn good. What I am gonna hold against him is the KO, the actual, not the loss per se, but the actual injury, which is a KO. So I don't know how scrambled his brains got with that KO 5 months ago. So that's really my biggest concern. Because while Jamie Malarkey isn't exactly, the Francis Ngannou of this division or whoever, he isn't a knockout artist. He might just have enough in his punches or really just strikes in general to, hit Kama either on the button or just hit him enough to where, he just loses balance, goes down, and then just isn't able to get back up. So I think this is Kama's fight to lose. I'm actually taking Kama by submission. I'd say maybe in the second round or so, possibly third, but I'll leave him in the second round unless Jamie just happens to hit him in that sweet spot and knock him out.
Our next matchup at bantamweight, we've got Thomas Almeida versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. And it's kind of funny that we broke it down the previous fight the way with the suspect chin and Sean O'Malley having a suspect calf. It's going to be a good fight. I really like this one. Thomas Almeida, unfortunately, hasn't won a fight in a long time. What, 4 years? Last fight that he won was a knockout over Albert Morales. And we know what happened to Sean O'Malley. Chito Vera just, is there a better word than cucked to really describe what happened? He beat him up. Like he played himself, essentially. Sean O'Malley is what he says. According to him, he's undefeated, so we'll go with that. He's 12-0 going in against a 22-4 Thomas Almeida. The odds are currently, O'Malley minus 305, Almeida plus 240. And man, I would love to say Thomas Almeida has a chance in this matchup, especially at those odds. I would love to go at those odds against Sean O'Malley because Sean O'Malley, he's very gifted. He's very fast. He's very fluid. He's very striking oriented, and he does what he does so damn well. But we know the issue with the calf kick, right? Was it a fluke? Maybe. I don't really think so. I really think he has issues getting hit in those skinny legs. I have that same issue, man. They suck. He's 26 years old. He has every advantage other than really the reach advantage. I was surprised to know that Almeida has a half-inch reach advantage over O'Malley, but O'Malley does have a 4-inch height advantage over him. Honestly, one could say, yes, Thomas Almeida should target the legs. And potentially, yes, it could affect Sean O'Malley, but I really don't think Sean O'Malley is that stupid. I think he is stupid, but I don't think he's that stupid. I think he's going to learn his lesson. I think he's going to really put it on Thomas Almeida. And the difference between Thomas Almeida and Marlon Vera is that Marlon Vera is way more durable. Like he can take those punches from Sean O'Malley in the beginning of the rounds, because anything that Sean O'Malley landed on Chito Vera in that early round, I think would put out Thomas Almeida. I hate to say it though, I think Thomas Almeida gets knocked out in this fight. I thought he looked pretty good against Jonathan Martinez his last fight out, but he's unfortunately on a slippery slope. He's going downhill, and I see Sean O'Malley getting back on track. I think he learned his lesson. I think, although I don't agree with him having that whole I'm undefeated mentality, I think it will benefit him in the long run, and he's going to learn from those mistakes. I think you see another first round knockout. So I got Sean O'Malley by first round knockout.
Yeah. Well, I don't agree that I don't think he has learned his lesson just yet. I think he'll just use what he's been doing prior to losing, which is use his movement and his somewhat dynamic striking to outclass Almeida. Yeah, Almeida I think is on his way out of the UFC after this fight. After he loses by TKO, he's done. Yeah, so I think I'll take O'Malley by second round TKO. Yeah, so we're not he brought everything up, but I just don't think Almeida has been working on his calf kicks to take out O'Malley. So
our next matchup at welterweight, we've got Vicente the Silent Assassin Luque versus Tyron the Chosen One Woodley. And I think I can really break this one down really quickly, but I'm going to take my time. Currently, we have the odds minus 265 for Luque. The turnaround on Tyron is plus 210. I'm going to let you guys into a little secret. I despise Tyron Woodley. I have hated Tyron Woodley since Strikeforce, when he was fighting in Strikeforce and his mama would be on the cage screaming, "Get him, Tyron, get him." I would hated it. I thought he lost to Jordan Meehan, and when he got knocked up by Nate Marquardt, that just made my night. I don't know what it has been about Tyron Woodley since then that I've just not liked. I think it's his face. I just don't like this guy. I think his nickname too back in the day, he would be like the Chosen One. I'm like, the Chosen One for what? I know he's a religious guy, but I just never liked Tyron Woodley ever. His last few losses, Kamaru Usman, right? He's talking all this crap to Kamaru Usman, like, how are you going to beat me? How are you going to beat me? Just keep that same energy. It just bothered the hell out of me, right? And his rap career, just everything that he does has always bothered me. And had I not been at my friend's house with multiple people around me during that fight, I would have been watching it with my pants down because I was excited as hell to see Kamaru Usman beat his ass. And same thing with Gilbert Burns. Like, Gilbert Burns whipped his ass. Colby Covington whipped his ass and finished him. That being said, though, as much as I dislike Tyron Woodley, I cannot count him out in this fight. I think Luque, he's on a great win streak right now. He knocked out Nico Price. He knocked out Randy Brown. No, I shouldn't say he knocked out Nico Price. He TKO'd him because of the eye injury. And I think he's just hitting his prime, right? I know he lost to Stephen Thompson, but that Stephen Thompson, he looked really good in that first round. Luque, I think he's a well-rounded fighter. Again, I don't like Tyron Woodley, and I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pick him, but I'm not going to discredit him. Between these two guys, one of these guys has won a UFC title, and one of these guys also defended a UFC title. And that's Tyron Woodley. As much as I dislike the guy, I can't discredit him for what he's done. He's a phenomenal athlete. He just doesn't perform. And that's always another issue that I've had with him. I'm like, dude, you've got all the tools to be a star, like Dana White says, yet you choose to be a dick. And you choose to be a really poor fighter. And when he knocked out Robbie Lawler, that made me depressed because I thought Robbie was going to beat him. I thought Tyron would have his typical Frozen One moments, but he exploded and he knocked him out. And at that point, I'm like, damn, I guess I was wrong about Tyron. Maybe he's turning a new leaf. Nope, it goes back to doing the same shit. It's really, really, really tough for me to pick Tyron Woodley because of my bias against him, but also because Vicente Luque is just so good. I think he has everything going for him. He punches really hard. His defense is good. I think we know what Tyron's going to do. At this point, he's 38 years old. He can completely change his game, go back to being a primary grappler and try to submit dudes. But I don't know, man. I don't know what it is about his mentality. I don't know if that's going to fix, if those issues are going to be fixed by the time he fights Luque. I really don't know what's going on with Tyron. I would not be surprised whatsoever if he comes in here and completely dominates Vicente Luque. If he shows us the championship caliber fighter that he's always really should have been. But man, I can't pick him. I can't pick him whatsoever. I have Luque to win this one. I think by decision. I think he batters Tyron Woodley everywhere. I think he'll stuff takedowns. I think he'll hurt him. Tyron's pretty damn durable overall. When it comes to that TKO by Colby Covington, I like to believe it was him quitting because I hate Tyron Woodley, but I can't be that asshole. I have to give him his props. I think he was injured. So ever since those fights with Usman and Burns, he wasn't finished by either of those two guys. I really don't think Luque is going to finish him. If he does, I might record my reaction, but I have to go with Luque. But again, as much as I dislike Woodley, I can't discredit him. Part of me kind of wants him to win, to be honest with you guys. I kind of want him to win so he can stick around in the UFC and get his ass beat more. But yeah, Luque decision.
Yeah, I'm not the. I wouldn't say I've ever been a fan of Tyron Woodley. I was pretty disappointed when Robbie let himself get knocked out by Tyron. Since then, the welterweight division has been a joke. First Tyron, now the other guy. Tyron is on his way out of the UFC, man. He is nowhere near. Either he's on his way out or he's going to be an undercard guy, and I think he's hoping to be an undercard guy, going forward. Because at this point he is not going to crack the top 15 or top 10 or anything. He's got that thing where, or he's at that point where he's just hesitant to really throw anything. He's not really fighting to win anymore. He's fighting to survive and maybe fighting to hopefully get a decision. And I'm pretty sure he's going to throw 100 overhand rights in this fight, hoping one of them lands. But I think Vicente is just going to be smart enough to realize that the first 20 are going to have some power, and then they start to, what's the word I'm looking for? Exponentially decrease in power as they go on. But Woodley, that's his, if it's like if somebody's playing a video game, they're just smashing that X button over and over and over again. That's his, that's his plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D thing. Just back up into the cage and throw that overhand right. Yeah, so I think he's on his way out of the UFC. I don't think he has any value. Dana White has hated him for the longest time, and haven't been really a fan ever, especially when he won that title. I thought at that point the welterweight division turned to garbage. Still is garbage, with the other guy holding the belt. Yeah, so I think Luke is going to take it, and this is the last we'll see of Tyron. Even if it isn't his last fight in his contract or whatever.
In our main event, we've got the anticipated rematch between Stipe, the fireman Miocic, versus Francis, as I like to call him, St. Francis Ngannou. The Predator is coming in here with his second opportunity to fight Stipe Miocic. And very, very fascinating matchup because we've seen it before and we have an idea, but oh my god, the odds! I just read them: minus 130 for Ngannou, plus 110 for Miocic, and it's very, very understandable. Had one particular thing not happened, I think I think Stipe would still be. I think Stipe would be the favorite fighter. And that one thing is that he got knocked out by Daniel Cormier almost 3 years ago. That really sucks the aura out of Miocic because even though he mollywopped Daniel Cormier the last two fights, he he still got knocked out. And if we know anything about Francis Ngannou, is that he's got the God touch, the dim mock, because yeah, he's on a 4-fight knockout win streak. Curtis Blades knocked him out. Cain Velasquez knocked him out. Junior Dos Santos knocked him out. And then Rosenstrike knocked him out. Like, Jesus, calm down, Frankie Murder. I like Francis, right? I like the meme of Francis just being able to touch anybody and just knocking him out. But I'll be frank with you guys. I'll be frank with you guys with Frankie. He's not the most skilled heavyweight. He is the epitome of a heavyweight fighter, right? The idea that you have a very unskilled guy who can just knock you out with one punch. Miocic is the superior fighter and martial artist compared to Ngannou. We saw what happened the first fight. Ngannou kind of blew his load trying to knock out Stipe. He was overconfident, and Stipe just took over. He took those shots, and I was like, oh my God, Stipe's chin. What the hell? He's taking these shots from this Ford Escort, and he's still standing. And he just beat him up. And to be honest, that wasn't his most impressive performance from Stipe. He looked gassed out. Had Ngannou had a little bit more in the gas tank, if he was able to reserve some energy in, say, those moments when he was on the ground, I think he might have put him away in maybe the third, fourth, or fifth, because Stipe looked exhausted trying to hold down Francis. And yeah, like I do think the overall better fighter is Stipe, but he has a chin liability, and we can potentially see him get destroyed in the first round. My biggest concern with Francis is that there's rumblings of him having that same type of mindset of, he's the uncrowned champ. He just has to touch you that one time, because his striking is atrocious, man. You've called it. We've called it. Those windmill punches. He hits hard, and I think he relies too heavily on that, and that is his biggest weakness. I know, it's weird that him being in this position of being a champion in a championship fight, like, I've never really seen him tighten things up. And yes, you can bring out the submission win over Anthony Hamilton. I think that's his name. The guy that has the guy with the forehead, the manager, Ali Abdelaziz. He has that type of forehead Anthony Hamilton does. So yeah, you can bring up that submission win, but that's against a guy who's not, top quality. I don't think he'll be able to submit Miocic. It's a closer fight, in my opinion. I think the odds are okay. I honestly think we're disrespecting Miocic a bit, mainly because I want that Francis Ngannou plus money. But I have to go with Francis. I think he's learned his lesson. Although I don't think he's the most skilled guy, I think that power is just on a different level. Frankie Murder by first round knockout.
One thing I neglected to mention is I'm actually looking forward to the co-main event more so than the main event, and the reason for that is this: I don't believe Francis, who should have changed his nickname to Ajax, Ngannou, I do not believe he's learned his lesson. Long story short, I started too much there. And as bad as I think Stipe has looked in his last two fights against Cormier, actually, you know what? Cormier got demoted to Cormier, so I'm not even going to pronounce his name correctly. Cormier just looked horrible in his last fight, which was his final professional fight. He came in horrendous shape, but that is to say, Stipe didn't come in that great a shape either. And I think if he comes in that bad a shape, yes, he is going to get, Francis is going to have, those three little red laser dots pointed at Stipe's crotch and just blow it up with his lasers.
Because he's the predator.
Yeah. However, if he does, if Stipe does come in and in I would say fair shape, we're going to be seeing Stipe screaming, "Get to the chopper, get to the chopper," at the end of the fight, meaning he's going to be victorious and he's going to fly away in the chopper. And that movie is just reminiscent because you have the predator, you have the white guy with the speech impediment, and anyway. So this is a tough one. I would say this is Francis's fight to lose. Yes, he does. He is going to have, I think, the power advantage, the speed advantage. And I saw somewhere that he is going to be cornered by Usman.
Oh, really?
But that isn't to say, yeah, apparently Usman has been working with him on his wrestling, but his wrestling still looks like shit. So that I don't think that's really going to count for much because it's not like, it's not like Usman is going to be in there against Stipe. If he was, then that'd be a different story. But he's just going to be telling him like, hey man, move left, move right, duck. But
I got a hypothetical situation for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's the night of the fight. You're at the betting window, and you've got the ability to live bet. Right? The fight starts, and Ngannou throws a jab to start off the fight. What do you do?
I bet on Stipe.
You bet on. You really did. You don't like. You don't think him throwing a jab is a good sign?
No, him throwing a jab just means that Stipe is going to duck under it and take him down.
Okay. I personally would think like, if he's throwing a jab, he's not gonna pace himself. He's not gonna just throw wild punches. But you got your point.
Yeah, if he's throwing a jab, then that means that he's a little bit more calculated. And I'm like, all right, so let's rip off his mask. Who is that? Because that sure as hell isn't Ngannou. That and he probably, I would say a jab to Francis Ngannou is like a takedown to Maheta, so somebody like that. It's like it's their plan B when plan A, his windmill punches aren't working. It's like, okay, let me try some actual boxing. Let's see if this works. Let's see if I can throw a jab and throw some actual technical punches instead of just waving my hands around in the air really quick and hoping one of them lands. I think in this fight, I don't say I'm hoping because I'm not really a fan of either of these guys. I think this is Stipe's fight. Wait, no, what did I say before? This is Francis. Yeah, this is Francis's fight to lose because if he only trained his grappling for this fight specifically, he's going to look like shit, which I think he is. So Stipe is going to take advantage of that. He's going to, I think, weather the storm, which is the first, maybe second round of Francis's, windmill, combos or whatever, basically him flailing his arms around. And then he's going to start to wear him out with the takedowns and whatnot. And it's going to be a repeat of the last fight, I believe. So I'll take Stipe by decision, unless he somehow manages to get on Francis's back and submit him in the fourth round, I would say. So I'll take Stipe. But Stipe is definitely toward the end of his career. I would say he maybe has a few more fights left in him. And considering the competition in the heavyweight division, which is pretty watered down at this point, besides Ngannou. I mean, I think the UFC would prefer Ngannou be the champion, not so much because of the age, because he's 34. He's not that much younger, but I think just the the press, the media would be a little bit more. If anything, I think they'd probably be able to understand Francis a little bit, a lot better than they would Stipe, for one thing. And then the other thing, he would be the, I guess, first maybe African heavyweight champion, and whatnot. I think he'd bring a lot more eyes to the.
Well, he'll be the first French heavyweight champion. We've already got two African champions in Usman and Stylebender.
He'd be the first African-born heavyweight champion, I think.
No, they were both born in Africa.
Oh, Stipe was born in Africa.
Okay, heavyweight champion. I see what you're
saying. Yeah, I was about to say. Well, I mean, I guess I haven't really confirmed Cain Velasquez is Mexican, but I would say. Yeah, so I mean, I said it several times. I was like, maybe he didn't hear me, or maybe I said it a little too quietly.
I must have not heard heavyweight, so we'll cut all that. I don't want to sound like a fucking fool.
No, that's fine. Yeah, no, he's not. Yeah, he's about as French as my toenail. Yeah, so this is going to be, I think, this is going to be one of those disappointing fights, and where Ngannou's, they're going to overhype this thing, and it's not going to live up to expectations. I don't want to seem like a cynic, but it's just how it is, man. This is going to be, I think, a repeat of the first fight, which wasn't all that exciting. It's going to be wrestler versus striker. Stipe is just going to wear him out, wear him down. He's going to, ask him what kind of ball deodorant he uses, in the middle of the fight, and compliment him on that.
If we had that sponsorship with, if this was sponsored by Manscaped, that would be a perfect segue, because they have a ball deodorizer that would really help Stipe Miocic. Like, oh, let me deodorize your balls, Francis. Damn, missed opportunity. Hopefully we get that ball sponsorship. So anyways, continue.
Manscaped, we'd appreciate your sponsorship. Funny enough, because I
haven't shaved my balls since the 90s. So
well, funny enough, I actually looked into, anyway, long story short, I looked into Manscaped because they were sponsoring a ton of YouTube channels that I watched, and I finally clicked on it once. I was like, let me see what it's about. If it's this popular, it's kind of. But then, they have a bunch of stuff. They have, I think, deodorant and lotion and all this stuff. And I was like, I guess I haven't been taking care of my balls as well as I should be. But anyway, so it's gonna be, like I said, like I said at the very beginning of this particular breakdown, I'm looking forward to the co-main event a lot more than I am this. I don't think it's going to be anything all that exciting. I think this is going to be similar to, what's that guy's name? Blades and Volkan. Is it Volkan?
Oh yeah, Alexander Volkan.
Volkan, yeah, Alexander Volkan. It's going to be just
Volkanov. Oh my god,
Volkanov. Okay, I was going to say Volkanovski, but I was like, no, it's.
Yeah, I always get those two confused, which is like the dumbest thing. We've got the shortest dude and the tallest dude.
Yeah, Francis Ngannou did not go from being a turtle to being like, I don't know. As much as I hate the guy, he's got great grappling. He didn't turn into GSP in the last few years because, like I said, I don't think he's been working on his wrestling for. It's been 3 years since he fought Miocic. I think he's just been working on it for a few months, and I saw it. It's not that big of an improvement. He might be able to stuff 1 or 2 takedowns in the first, second round, but he does not have what it takes to stuff 25 minutes worth of grappling, takedowns, maybe submission attempts or ground and pound by Stipe. So he's going to get stiped in this once again. Stipe is going to babble in his post-win speech. We're going to need a translator for that. And it's on to the next one for Stipe.
Those have been our picks for UFC 260, Miocic versus Ngannou. FYI, if any of you guys are going to go to Florida and Jacksonville for UFC 261, I'm probably going to be there. Might be handing out stickers. I know we're a small channel, but still, I got stickers, boy. And yeah, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. We really do appreciate the comments. We really appreciate the likes. I think we are actually getting a little bit of traction. We used to go from like 16 views, and now we've got 341 views in our last video with 23 likes. That's awesome. Really awesome. That's like, I didn't think that would happen. But yeah, we really appreciate you guys completely. We'll try to provide more content down the line. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter. And yeah, that's been our picks, Johnny and Jose, Tiger Bomb MMA, and we'll catch you at the next fight.